بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، إن معه جبل خبز ونهر ماء. When Dajjal will come, he will have control over the world's food and water reserves. فَيَأْمُرُ السَّمَاءَ فَتُمْطِرُ وَالْأَرْضَ فَتُنْبِتُ. When he decides you should get water, then only you'll get it. And when he decides you should get crops, supplies, stocks, then only. So these supplies, these resources, these important assets will be in his control. So while we have the chance and while we have the opportunity, we need to utilize these ni'am of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not wait for the time when there will be turmoil. Allama Saady used to say, رَغَدُ الرِّزْقِ وَالْأَمْنِ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ. To have access to risk, be preserved from fear. Different fears are out there, but to have aman, to have that sanctuary, min akbarin ni'am ad-dunyawiyya. It's amongst the greatest bounties in this world. Al-mujib li shukrillah, that necessitates gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the fact that currently now many of us have access to food and we are protected, this is a great bounty of Allah which needs to be utilized. Qayyim used to mention something interesting. Ash-shukru qaydun ni'am al-mawjuda. What is shukr? It is tying, it is securing the present bounties. وَسَيْدٌ نِعَمِ الْمَفْقُودَ. And searching, hunting for this bounties that are lost. When you have these bounties, use it well and try to secure bounties which you don't have. Likewise, say, الشكر حارس النعمة من كل ما يكون سببا لزوالها. What is shukr? Protecting those bounties of all those things that will be a cause of losing them. So a believer doesn't want to lose any bounty of Allah, especially the bounty of Iman, the bounty of Amal. Abu Bakr Warraq used to say, Ista'in ala sayrika ilallah bi tarki man shaghalaka anillah. Busy yourself on the journey to Allah by leaving that which will distract you from Allah. وَلَيْسَ بِشَاغِلٍ يُشْغِلُكَ عَنِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ كَنَفْسِكَ. And there is nothing more destructive and will destroy you from having a relationship with Allah like your nafs التي هي بين جنبيك, that's in front of you. So we find Allah has given us these bounties and we need to look after it. We need to make sure it is utilized in the avenues that Allah and His Rasul have stipulated. Otherwise the zamana of fitnas are such that every person now is in stress, in depression. Parents wish they're making dua, if only we never gave birth to you. And these children are not really bothered about their parents. They're not bothered about the taklif, the inconvenience, the hardships, the difficulties that they give to their parents. Why? Because they just want to do what they feel is best. So somebody said, I could tell that my parents hated me. My bath toys were a toaster and a radio. That's how bad he was. Somebody else said, my mother had morning sickness after I was born. Somebody else said, I remember the time I was kidnapped. They sent a piece of my finger to my father. And he said, I want more proof. I want more proof. So we're in an era now where the ball is rolling, and momentum for the scene, for the setting of the coming of Dajjal. These are all minor signs which are in front of us, because when Dajjal will come, his appearance is a sign enough, but the prelude to that will be visible. So we were discussing the Gates Foundation, and they taking control globally. Now they are influencing global policies. So there are many global organizations that have influence. So by buying the loyalty of these influential organizations, buying patronage, and when you buy loyalty, nobody is going to criticize you. So many of the organizations globally are silent, and part of that is as well is the global health. So we discuss agriculture, but health is also very important, because food and water, these comprise of constituents which will benefit your health or harm your health. La ilaha illallah. So when it's in the medical field as well, you're going to consume something medically, your body is going to intake something. So that vaccine is in their control. So the health sector as well. So they've pumped a lot of money in agriculture, in health, in research, and that's across the board, from scientists to governments to corporations to NGOs to the media. And the idea is to shape global policy. So if we look at the WHO, they are the largest or second largest contributor, and they are also the world's largest funder with regards to research on communicable diseases. So if you look at TB, malaria, HIV, they spend more money than the WHO. Likewise, global public and private health partnerships, they also reel in some influence. So different organizations, for example, the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization, Gavi, we find already in 1999 the Gates Foundation, along with the WHO, UNICEF and World Bank, and since 2000 they funded around $2.5 billion. Then the Global Fund to fight HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, $1.4 billion. Then they sit on the board of the H8. So this is again a self-appointed group, and all health related organizations. So it's the WHO, UNICEF, UNFPA, UNAIDS, Global Fund and Gavi. It was initiated in 2007 with regards to global health related issues. So from that to the health agendas of the G8 group of states. Then with regards to agriculture, they've spent over $2 billion. They're the world's 5th largest donor to agriculture. Then the Alliance for Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, which is the most influential agricultural body in the continent. So the BBC calls Bill Gates the single most influential voice in global health. He's supposed to be sorting viruses on computers. He's sorting viruses of humanity. The Guardian also says that he is possibly the most powerful figure in world agriculture. So not even a government minister, a banker, a civil servant, even a corporation wields, controls, has influence like him, or has so few political restrictions. So since they are in these organizations on a senior level, they have access to that. And we find that on major occasions. So Melinda Gates was invited as a keynote speaker at the World Health Assembly, and in 10 years 3 times. So again, he wielding influence. Then another global organization, the Consultative Group on International Agricultural Research. So these are 15 research centers which are the world's most influential network for agricultural research. And it's a public vehicle for financing agricultural research to solve the food security challenges of the 21st century. So again, here they've given over $700 million in funding. Then creating their own policies, skewing global health policies for their own interests. So in partnership with multinational pharmaceutical companies and public-private partnerships, this is promoted by the Gates Foundation. So if you look at the vaccines and the investment in the different vaccine companies, different pharmaceutical companies, take for example with regards to the vaccines. So the cost for a fully vaccinated child 10 years ago and now is 68 times more. Why? Because these big pharmaceutical companies are charging, and the charge is an overcharge, it's overstated. So developing countries are paying billions of dollars. So they're making money from the wealthy countries and they're making money from developing countries. So take for example, so there is a vaccine which is pneumococcal, which supposedly protects children from pneumonia. So who controls, who produces this? GlaxoSmithKline and Pfizer. And since they've initiated this, they've made over $19 billion, $19 billion and counting. So the price is around $60 per vaccine. And when Mr. Gates was asked about this, he said that cutting prices would serve to deter pharmaceutical companies from working on life-saving products for poor countries. So they want to keep humanity as slaves. They control you. Again, why will Dajjal have the water and food reserves? Is control. Even in a Lancet report, they're saying that scientists and researchers that were used to a certain standard lower income, now from the Gates Foundation, due to their large grants, these health programs, this research is distorted. And what is he pushing? He's saying that you must increase your investment in vaccines, immunization, even though you don't have the money, you don't have the budget. But 193 countries, imagine one man addressing the whole world, and he's saying you must make vaccines a central focus of your health systems. So there's a lot of points with regards to vaccines, which we will leave for another time, inshallah. Then look at the media and the NGO influence. So when you got this big, enormous, gigantic propaganda machine, then you sway. And propaganda is from all aspects, from social media to news. So a professor of media at New York University was saying that the Gates Foundation has dedicated $1 billion in the last 10 years to policy and advocacy. That's even more than the Rockefeller Foundation. So from The Guardian to ABC, etc., if you look at the big propaganda houses, they've invested money in them. They've invested money in the training programs for journalists. So you actually literally controlling not the entity but the people behind it as well. So you're controlling the media. So if we had to say that one day we will read a story about a Gates-funded health project, and who wrote it? It was in a newspaper that the health coverage is underwritten by Mr. Gates, reported by journalists who attended the Gates-funded journalism program. And the data in this newspaper, which is owned by the Gates Foundation, is collected and analyzed by scientists who were given grants from the Gates Foundation. So this propaganda machine to sway people, to create fear. If you don't take the vaccine, if you don't do this, if you don't wear the mask, let's go by their rules. You wanted lockdown, we did it. You wanted us to stay in our houses and not socialize, we did it. You said wear the mask, we did it. We did everything by the book. The second wave was worse and the third wave was worse. So everything that you said do didn't work. Look at the vaccine. Look at the numbers. Look at the research. So we're too blind, we're too gullible. We living in a system which we don't want to change. So the NGOs, they support and they fund the big health agricultural NGOs because nobody will speak against them. Then they saying that, you know what, we give in charity. So but it's not about charity. They saying they want to deliver solutions to the poor, but ultimately they want the poor, the medium and lower class, to become dependent on them. And philanthropy is the enemy of justice. It is the enemy of justice. Give somebody charity, you control them. What's very important for us is the technology agenda, because they want you to be dependent on it and they'll control the systems behind it. We mentioned a few points in the past, but Gates is developing everything from energy sources to zero carbon to, and just the point is, he's saying technology is king, and he's saying get technology to the poor people. So one analyst from New York University has said that we're not looking at what people's rights are. So the Gates Foundation is trying to find fixes for the world's problems, for the poor. Like you're saying, there's malaria is a problem, so you need such beds, you need this here. So again, you want to take money out of them. You need drought-tolerant varieties of corn to prevent famine. So again, control. So with all these donors, USAID, the World Bank, it's just to craft and to control the world. May Allah protect one and all. The amal for today is ليس الصلاة أثقل على المنافقين من الفجر والعشاء. To read salat with the jama'ah, especially to be very particular, never to miss فجر عشاء ولو يعلمون ما فيها. If people really knew the value of Fajr and Isha, لأتوهما ولو حبوا, they would have attended even if they were to crawl on their knees. So this is salat heavy on the munafiqeen. Allah grant us true iman and death on iman. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.